Yeah.
All right, let's get the meeting started. I am filling in since Dr. Booker is not feeling well. Um, Fabio, can we start with the land acknowledgement, please? Since time immemorial, the Kalapuya people have been the indigenous stewards to our region, building dynamic communities, maintaining balance with wildlife, and enacting sustainable land practices. A land acknowledgement is a way of resisting the erasure of indigenous histories and to honor Native communities by inviting truth and reconciliation. Following treaties between 1851 and 1855, Kalapuya people were dispossessed of their indigenous homeland by the United States government and forcibly removed to the Coast Reservation in Western Oregon. As we consider the impacts of colonization, we also acknowledge the strength and resiliency of displaced Indigenous people. The city of Eugene is built within the traditional homelands known as Kalapuya Ilihi. Kalapuya descendants are citizens of the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde Community of Oregon and the Confederated Tribes of Siletz Indians of Oregon. They continue to make contributions in our communities here and across the lands. We express our respect for the inherent political sovereignty of all federally recognized tribal nations and Indigenous people who live in the state of Oregon and across the nation. Thank you. I believe we need to vote on the agenda and the minutes from the previous meeting, or are these separate?
They are separate votes.
Okay. Can we vote on approving, or can we vote on the agenda for the meeting, please? If someone would like to make a motion.
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? I believe we have the ayes. Okay. And minutes from the last meeting, does anyone have any comments on them, or please feel free to make a motion?
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second it.
Oh my gosh, my brain just died. Sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? And I believe we have ayes. I apologize. This is my second meeting or second big meeting of the day. So if I'm all mixed up. Does anyone have any community updates, or anything that they'd like to share since last meeting?
Yeah, I guess now is as good a time as any. Claudia, would you mind putting that poster for Transsave Remembrance back up?
Second.
Yeah, so a handful of us have been working with some other departments in the city to put this event together. And it is this Thursday at the Farmers Market Pavilion from 5:30 to 7 p.m. I'll be emceeing it. And it's just an opportunity for folks both in and out of the trans community, allies as well, to come and honor those whose lives were taken due to anti-trans violence in the last year. Those numbers are abhorrent. I cut out 50 names today for a display for that, which is the highest that we've seen in quite a while, maybe ever. And there's over 300 worldwide. And so I think it's just important that folks are there in solidarity and support. And in mourning for these lives lost, but also as a show that we are not going to continue to allow this to happen to the best of our ability. And we will continue to show up and fight for the trans community in the ways that we can. Yeah, will be happening on Thursday.
And You'll be emceeing, which is
Yeah,
awesome.
be emceeing.
Thank you.
Fabio, is that visual something that can be shared on the city's socials?
It already is on cultural services
Yep.
has already posted it, and I believe the city main city channels will be eventually. Not sure where that is.
Perfect.
I have a quick announcement. I was able to tour the new facilities for the Lavender Network, which has moved to Willamette in the old arts building. And the same groups who were in the Maxwell facility have moved into town. So it's really good news that this is accessible space. And I would encourage everyone to check it out. They moved on the 10th of November. And one quick announcement too from the HIV Alliance, World AIDS Day, which is December 1st of every year, is being commemorated on the 5th, which is Friday night, in partnership with the Arts Walk. So World AIDS Day will be from 5 to 7 in the farmers market. And I would, as Jamie was saying about transgender Memorial Day, I would encourage everybody to drop by, because part of what happens is a commemoration of those who have died of HIV. Thank you.
Thank you, Cynthia. Any other updates or community announcements? Okay. Then I think we can pass it on to Lieutenant Williams.
Good evening. Just finishing a gummy bear there. I didn't know I was going to get called on that fast. So I have a few cases to bring to the commission, but thankfully not a ton. Some of the reports that we do get are checked as bias crimes, and then just checked by accident. And so they might be crimes, certainly, but don't relate to this committee or our special investigations unit. So fortunately, my stack was slimmed down tonight. The first case we're going to talk about was from the beginning of October, October 5th. This is a lady living in an apartment complex that reported repeated damage to her car. Somebody was keying her car. We ended up finding some video surveillance of the suspect doing the deed, going between her car and dragging a key up her door or some kind of a device. Now, this was assigned to a detective, and I'm sorry, I'm getting my cases mixed up. This was not yet assigned to a detective, but it's the officer that has the case has developed some suspect information. He has been working with Detective Baugh, who was able to help him identify a suspect. They've got what's called an attempt to locate out, which I think I've mentioned to you before. It's similar to a warrant. So if the subject is pulled over and contacted by police locally, there will be a notice or an alert in the system that he needs to be interviewed and arrested related to this crime. It's a little unclear whether I'm going to report back that it was bias related or not. The reason it came to us in this report is the lady was uncertain what the motive could be, and guessed that maybe it's because she's Latina. There is some information that there was a grievance that this guy had about the parking situation at the apartment complex. So it's as likely to be stress around tight parking spots. But I'll report back once we make contact with that guy. Am I speaking loud enough?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. The next case is related to Bushnell College, down on kind of on campus. It's a private Christian college. Security there reported to us that they've been receiving a number of kind of prank phone calls from somebody sort of disjointed, difficult to follow, not exactly threatening, but profane and insulting messages related to Christianity. It sounds like this person may have had a bad experience with something to do with the Christian faith, possibly Catholic, although it's not clear. So we've wrote a report, we've collected the recordings that this person has made. There's no threat at this point, and there's really not a crime yet, but we're going to continue monitoring that. Some of you might have heard around October 29th, we got a call of defacing graffiti at the George Floyd mural down on Broadway. Somebody had spray painted over the eyes and over the mouth of the subject in the mural. There isn't our downtown officer, Officer Arbogast, canvas for witnesses and video. There's not good video of that area. This is currently assigned to one of our SIU, our Special Investigations Unit's detectives, Dean Peterson. You've probably heard me mention him before. So perhaps something will come of that. Maybe we can identify who caused the damage and hold them accountable. On November 12th, this is kind of similar to the pizza parlor case I brought to your attention last month, where a subject came in all amped up and took it out on the employees. This was at the McDonald's on River Road, up on River Avenue. The guy was unhappy that he got skipped in the drive-through line. The victim, the employee, said that her headset was somehow malfunctioned. She didn't know he pulled up, so she skipped to the next customer, and that really set him off. He was irate about that. Gave her an earful over the intercom. She said she wasn't going to serve him. So he ripped around into the parking lot and started coming up to the front door. So she and the shift manager went and locked the door, and he was screaming all kinds of racially charged statements about Hispanics, and at least one person heard him say he was going to kill them. And then he turned around and went back to his truck and left. We got a license plate, and we were able to find out who that belonged to. Officers went out, contacted this guy. He did admit that he kind of lost his cool, but he minimized and didn't say he said anything racially charged and didn't threaten to hurt anybody. But that just wasn't what the evidence showed. So he went to jail. Bias crime in the second degree was the charge, at least the primary charge. And he was otherwise cooperative, interestingly. That was the last case that where we had a crime that was appropriate for kind of discussing in this forum. There was another case that you may have heard of, and that was on a more national level. There was mention of a local LGBTQ plus students and friends club at Meadowview for 3rd and 4th graders. Apparently a teacher or a parent saw some national discussion happening on X about that club, and it generated a bunch of negative and even calls for violence against that kind of activity. Given the these people are live in at least one location with Texas, and none of these folks are in our community. There wasn't going to be a case assignment to a detective for that case. We did staff it, discuss it in our Lane County Threat Assessment team, which is another board I'm on, where we look at threats to the community and specifically our schools. And it was discussed, and we'll kind of continue to monitor that in case it gains traction locally. And that's all I have. That's all I have for you tonight. I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Thank you, Lieutenant Williams. Does anyone have any questions about any of the reports from tonight? Okay, I have a quick question. If you would be able to follow up, or if you have any follow-up information on the burglaries of the Asian American homes in the area. I know that there was a council safety meeting, so I was wondering if you had any updates on that.
I can't speak to the council safety meeting. I can tell you we're continuing to hustle on that case. In fact, I went and spoke with some of our FBI partners today. They were actually in our building working on indictments for these folks. They're working on grand jury on the ones we caught to get them indicted. They snagged a couple out of the process of deportation so that we could get them prosecuted locally. And I know that I spoke with one of our investigators this evening before I came to this meeting. He said that he felt confident they were going to have enough to indict all 7 on the related charges.
Fantastic, thank you.
You're welcome.
Last chance for any other questions?
All right. Well, it was a pleasure this evening. If you guys think of anything, you can always have Fabio, or you can reach out to me directly in email, and I'm happy to answer those questions.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
All right, Fabio, it looks like you are up.
Thanks, John. We have a few local cases that I can report on tonight. 2 of them were hate messages left at the library, the downtown library, in different dates, but the message was exactly the same, and it appears that the handwriting is also the same. So they were found 4 days apart, and the message were attacking the body shape, and it also had the N-word, and it was left in front of staff's offices. So we could make an assumption that the intended target was a staff at the location, but we do not know for sure. But they have been logged, and we'll just keep that information in case more incidents happen and we are able to identify who is left in those messages. There was a community case in which messages including swastika and the N-word was left around someone's house. And this has been happening quite frequently, that the swastika has been used with other hate messages. So it's not just towards the Jewish community, but we have several incidents where people are mixing several hate symbols and displaying hateful messages against different groups, all in one similar incident. Plus, we also got some reports of anti-immigration flyers being distributed in town. Some of them were more similar to what would be classified as hate message. And in one incident, people were printing and sharing images that have actually been shared by a federal government agency. So it is an anti-immigration message, but it's written in a way that is addressing the legality or illegality of someone having a status to remain in the country. But the intent may be assumed that is similar to the message in which a more direct hateful language is being used. When we get this kind of report, we try to have them removed as soon as possible. In the latest situations, when we asked our colleagues in public works to go and remove the flyers, the message were no longer there. So probably somewhere someone saw it and removed the posters, flyers, or whatever it is. And that has been something that is quite frequent when we get reports of hate messages, including graffiti and flyers. Sometimes people would see them and take 1 or 2 days to report. And when we get the message and ask someone to go remove them, they are no longer there. So I was discussing with the state staff, how can we streamline the process so we can be faster in removing hate messages so fewer people have to see them. One thing that we are discussing is changing the way in which we report, because the state staff would take care of these cases within 4 hours when they receive them. But if a report comes on Friday afternoon, they would only work on those Monday morning, because they would not have staff monitoring the lines during the weekend. So we're discussing different approaches for people to report hate messages, including automated notification if some of those messages are submitted to the state, or reactivating our own reporting of hate messages in case of graffiti and poster and flyering in the communities. There are some changes in the state team. So I have been introduced to the new coordinator for the Civil Rights Unit, and we will try to schedule a meeting for him to come down to Eugene and get to know the people doing this kind of work here, and perhaps including I stop in one of the Human Rights Commission meetings. I do want to share some information coming from the state. We have some data dashboards, one for bias, incidents, and crimes, and one for the Sanctuary Promise hotline. So just allow me 1 second to get that on display. So this first one is regarding hotline reports for bias incidents and hate crimes. This data is still partial, because we have 2 months left in the year. But we can see a significant decline in monthly reports. In 2024, the state was receiving 488 reports per month. And for this year, it went down to 278. It's still too early to know what caused this big drop, or if the increase in 2024 was something not normal. When we look at the graph here, you can see this big spike in April, in which over 1,000 cases were received in 1 month. I tried to identify where those reports were coming from and wasn't able to see them from the data. But once we get the full report from the state, we may be able to identify what caused that spike. But this may be positive news that the number of cases are going down, or we may be asked to investigate what is causing it. Are people just not reporting? We do not know for sure yet, but this has been identified since early last year that we were expecting a decline in the number of cases. When we look data just for Lane County, we see a different picture. I'm sorry, right now my mouse is not clicking. Let me try again. So if you look at the data just for Lane County, if I were able to click here, what's going on?
Is it maybe because you're sharing at the same
There you go.
time?
Okay,
There
I
you go.
got it now. Okay. So when you sort the data just for our county, the number of cases per month is about the same. So that decline that is seen statewide is not happening here. So our level of reporting has remained stable. Most of the reports from Lane County comes from the city of Eugene. So the state data is reported on the dashboard by county, but at the end of the year, we ask them to provide the data just for the addresses within our city limits. So the report we present to you later on in the year is only including our own data. But you can see here that that decline is not being experienced in Lane County. A second data set I want to share with you is coming from the Sanctuary Promise Hotline. So this is the state law that prevents city staff and all law enforcement agencies and government staff from collaborating with immigration enforcement if in the absence of a court warrant. So they separate the data by agency reports. So here are the local agencies reporting requests for collaboration from federal agencies. Sorry, it's been a little bit slow to load the data. And I hope it completes. Sorry, it is not loading, but on this page, if you have access to that website, and we can share the links with all commissioners and also including the records, you would see that for Lane County, we got 13 reports, 12 of those coming from the Lane County Jail and 1 from the Springfield Jail. So those were requests from federal agencies regarding people who could be detained at those jails and could be targets for immigration enforcement actions. We do not have access to what happened with those cases, just that those agencies reported to the state that they were asked by federal agencies to share information. And that's including our state law that if that happens, the agencies must report those requests. I didn't see any reporting from Eugene Police, so we only have those for Lane County, from the county jail and from the Springfield Jail. When you go to community reports, try to load it once again. Here are community members reporting perceived violations of the law. So Lane County is number 1. We had 65 community reports. On top here, Multnomah County only 63. And on this side, you can see the jump in cases comparing 2025 to the previous years. Those are not investigated reports. It's just saying that 65 reports were made by community members who believed there were some violation of the state law. If you go to the data, you can see the agencies that are being reported, the suspected violations. They have data since 2022. And when you get to the bottom of the table, there are multiple reports of supposed violations coming from our own law enforcement agency. If you are following the news and some of the press release, some of those complaints that were made locally here to our independent police auditor's office were investigated, and it was confirmed that Eugene Police had no involvement with those recent immigration actions that happened in the city. So we are presenting this just in case you want to go there and browse the data yourself and try to understand how those are being reported to the state. And with that, I could answer a few questions about those.
Fabio, none of those reports were found to be substantiated.
Those 65 reports are presented on the data dashboard just as reports.
Mhm.
We do not know what the disposition of those cases would be until much later when they present the annual report from the state agency. What we have is the results of the investigation done here in Eugene by our independent police auditor's office, and that found that EPG officers had no involvement in those recent immigration enforcement actions. So it's just that may be a disconnect between the perceived collaborations, and people are reporting that to the state, and we are glad that that law exists and people can report it. But then we would only know if any violation was committed after an investigation is conducted and if something is found to be something would confirm what was assumed in those reports, but that has not been the case yet.
Are there any other questions for Fabio? Okay, do we have an update from Councillor Leach?
I didn't receive an email until the start of the meeting. Let me check here pretty fast. No. Not yet. And if you remember from the conversation last month, Councillor Leach is not able to attend the meetings on a Tuesday. We discussed switching the date of the meetings to the third Wednesday, for example. And that could allow for her continued participation and also would prevent conflicts because when we have a Monday holiday, the city council meeting may be scheduled for a Tuesday. And then we have the two meetings happening at the same time, and that happens a few times every year. So switching our meeting date from Tuesday to Wednesday would avoid that conflict as well.
Is that something that we want to put up for a vote in January?
That's administrative and planning. We can do that. I sent an email to commissioners asking your opinion and availability for that. So we could do that outside of the public meeting format. It's not required because it's just planning for a public meeting that must be posted.
Okay, perfect. Then let's move on to the HRC vacancy. I believe we have Vanita. Is that correct, Murthy? Yes. Okay, thank you, Melissa. She is on one of the committees, I believe, and has applied for the open position on the HRC. And since it's outside of when council would appoint, I believe we vote on it, correct?
All appointments still must go through council, but because
Okay.
it's not a full term, we recruit from the work groups of the HRC. So we have Anita as the only applicant, and we need a recommendation by the commission so we can include that with the materials for the council agenda on December 8th.
Perfect. Does anyone have any questions or comments about their application? And if not, then I would ask for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve her as to fill the vacancy.
Second.
All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? And the ayes have it. Perfect. Quick and easy. Okay.
Thank you. So, Chair,
Sorry, go ahead.
just reminding the next steps on that process. Staff will prepare an agenda item summary for inclusion in the council agenda for December 8th. So if council confirms the appointment, then Vanita would join the first regular meeting in January, as we don't meet in December.
Perfect. Thank you for that clarification. Moving on to sponsorship guidelines. I know WeSeeU was working on some edits and a proposal for this. And I believe it was shared with everyone. Yes, okay. Are there any thoughts or comments on the adjustments to this? We talked about different levels of endorsement, and what types of activities the HRC members and or staff would need to do in order to kind of match that value.
there was just one thing I think we still need to change on the table on page 2. I think there needs to be a section for up to $200 because we don't need any commissioners to be at that.
Mm.
So like up to 200 and then 201 to 500 would be the second. I think we just need to add that in.
Yeah, and we have marked a few items for discussion for the commission. Chair, if I can go over those, and then you can have a discussion, propose some amendments, and then you can vote that globally. Say, okay, this is the final draft. At the accessibility, in the accessibility text, we have this question: if you want to require that the facilities where something is happening be fully accessible. The current form has some language about of encouragement for organizers to make their events as accessible as possible. But if you include some requirements that cannot be accommodated, for example, in our own facilities, or for some events that are happening at open spaces and parks, and for example, that would not be 100% accessible, then you would be preventing some organizers and community groups from applying for those grants. And it will be perhaps important for the commission to discuss how to address that. We want to make sure that all events are accessible, but if we require private organizers, for example, to comply with some of the accommodations, those may be costlier than the sponsorship you are offering them.
I don't mind it. The last sentence of what's highlighted says it could be to the best of their ability. And so at least having a statement on there saying that it would be ideal for them to provide accessibility plans or whatever it is and accommodations to the best of their ability, that I think that would be helpful.
Yeah, for example, here it says interpretation should be provided if requested. If you only get a request for Spanish or sign language interpretation, that may be okay for the applicants. And we have had those situations. For example, I remember, for example, a transponder organized an event and they want to have a live transcription of the event. And they applied for an HRC grant, and the HRC funds were actually used to pay for that service. So that made their event fully accessible, but that was happening indoors in a place where the technology and everything could happen. But if you have multiple requests for language interpretation and translation, then you are requiring them to spend more than what the HRC would be able to offer them in a sponsorship.
I was wondering if we could require applicants to state what the accessibility is or is not on the application, because that might influence our approval or not. Since the ADA is it's a federal law. And I'm just wondering what the committee is sitting here. What would you think about asking them to specify?
I think that's a good idea, and maybe even a list of things that they will have, because I'm not even sure if I know all the accessibility things that could or should be offered. So maybe a list of the items and they could check off what will be there and what will not be there.
Yeah, and maybe with an explanation of why it isn't able to be provided. Like, what are you doing to be accommodating? What are the barriers you're facing in like meeting other requirements for accommodation?
So barriers would be another question. What
Yeah, like
barriers
why,
do you have?
yeah, like why can't you offer this or this or this?
Okay.
So
I
instead of
agree with, sorry, Fabio, I was just gonna say, I agree with all of those. And I love the idea of the checklist because that gives specific examples. There could also be just like other box so that they can fill in the blank if there's other accommodations that they have available. But I agree with everything that was said right now.
So should we, if I'm understanding correctly, the recommendation is for a space in the application where proponents can describe how they are going to make the event accessible, and they describe what they are trying or being able to offer.
Yes.
Is that?
Yeah.
You capturing that, Melissa? Okay. So there was one comment that we flagged for you, and that is different from City of Eugene events. For our own events and our facilities, we have different statements on accessibility, and people can request that accommodations. And depending on how soon we get those requests, we will try to accommodate all of them. So we actually updated our statement, because before, including in the HRC owns agenda, it said 48 hours minimum for the requests. But we do have accommodation that do not require 48 hours, so we remove the timing. We just say that now we say that some accommodations may require advanced notice. We'll just make sure that if someone see an event that's less than 48 hours, they would not just assume that accommodation cannot be provided, but I should encourage them to request. Then for the level of support, here on item 2, you will have an X as the number of commissioners who would be involved. And for a vote, you need to suggest what would be the number of participants.
Yeah, I mean, does it have to be? I mean, we were running into this with some events where only one of us could go. Can it be as few as one? Can it be like 1 to 3? Or 1 to 2, depending on the size of the event? So that we're not running into, well, only one of us could go and we say that it requires 2, and so that what do we do? Like, is there a minimum that it is required to be, or do we just get?
This is a commission conversation and decision from the city's perspective. Like, we can sponsor events, so the city is the financial agent here. So we are the ones providing the sponsorship, but HRC discuss the event and provide guidance to staff. So the number is something that the commission sets, because the idea is that commissioners would be involved with those events, if not organize them, at least attending and reporting back to the commission in the meeting following the event.
I would say 1 for that level. Cause that might just be paying for printing of like, their programs or something like that for 200, 500, so. I would suggest we just have 1 in there,
One here.
if everyone else agrees.
$200, $201.
Yeah,
Yes,
doesn't
very
hurt.
little. We want to encourage people to apply, not
Mhm.
discourage.
And then for number 4,
I'm inclined to also say 1 or like 1 to 3.
So I think I know I made some edits to this section, and my thought process for this much was similar to how Cynthia or Commissioner Poindexter was connected to the NAACP event recently. So she was involved in the planning and was helping with the execution, I believe, day of. And so that's kind of what I was imagining when it came to this one. So it would make sense to have at least one commissioner who is actually actively involved at this level. And then my thought process for the in attendance was I'd say at least 2 so that we have different perspectives. Because I do enjoy hearing multiple people report back about what the event was like and what they experienced or who they talked to. Obviously open to other feedback as well.
I think, well, for active involvement, I would agree 1. Because to try and get multiple of us might be really, really hard.
Yeah.
And Fabio, I'd say at least one.
Yeah, leave it open.
So that's for 500 to 1,000. Like, I'm definitely on board with it for 1,000 and over. Do we also want to have one actively involved from 500 to 1,000? I'm okay if we are, but
That's. Well, maybe we need to be more clear about what actively involved looks like. Because that could be like, I have time, I'll go put up posters for the event. Is that
Mhm.
active involvement?
yeah.
Like, is that I have a connection to somebody that'll donate something for a raffle? Is that active involvement? Like, what does that mean? I think we need to
In the
be.
description, it does say in the planning and or execution
Mhm.
of activities and such.
I know that stuff was pretty. Like a pretty wide interpretation,
And
which I guess
again,
is good.
It's good, yeah, yeah.
So, yeah.
Versus
that's good.
just showing up.
Yeah,
The idea, I believe, is for commissioners to be able to provide input on how to make the event more inclusive, more accessible, considering human rights in the planning and preparation for the things you are sponsoring.
And I think this is gonna be good to be clear about this, because I think some folks are coming to ask for money so late, they might have already planned the event. So I think this will be really nice to have in front of everybody.
Yeah, and at the bottom, we have another item for consideration. So item number 5, this one was discussed previously, when we were discussing amendments to the bylaws in 2022 or 2023, and we stopped asking for that because we already asked for one commissioner, at least one now, to be present. So the commissioners attending the event or planning the events would be the one reporting back. And that was to avoid a situation that was causing some people not to apply for the grant because they would be asking for $200 and they had to submit an application, come to an HRC meeting, and then come back to present a report. And that time was more expensive than the funds they were getting from the commission. So we removed that requirement and just have the HRC commissioner who participate in the planning or attending the event coming back and report to the commission.
can we also make that monetarily based, so anything over 500 or us deeper, like, we'd love to know how your event went. Which I think would be really helpful to have in just our history of grants, as you wrote the grant, what it's for, what the summary was. So that we're keeping like a binder or something of a thing that we can refer back to. I just think it'd be helpful for future, like, endeavors to have something. I think it's always,
Not to be completely contradictory, but to be completely honest, at least from my perspective, are you going to actually read them? Or not you specifically, but in general, who's actually reading them? Versus if we do have, if we do say we need a minimum of 2 HRC commissioners to attend and we have them both report back, maybe it's an ask in the application process where if any photos are shared from the event, if we can share them in our own capacities or something like that.
I think that's a good point, as to, I do believe some folks on the commission will read them. And what will happen with them, after. Yeah. It's a lot to ask for not very much money. Yeah.
Sorry, just for us to take notes, do we have a recommendation, a motion for changing the current process? The current process doesn't require the report.
It doesn't require.
It doesn't. It was removed.
Yeah.
We had it until 2023, that was removed. So the question is if we're still going to ask them to present a post-event summary or report.
I would recommend no.
and I mean, I'm all about a grant having less hoops to jump through.
Mhm.
And then can we, as the people who showed up, be very intentional about reporting back how that went? Because if it was an event that was not handled well and we don't want to support that again, or like it was bad, like we need to be aware of that, but that onus doesn't necessarily need to be on the organizers of the event who've already been through an ordeal. Organizing is exhausting.
Mhm.
I think this is, if there's a way that we can structure that in ourselves.
Can we
Okay.
say at least 2 need to be in attendance then? Starting at 2:01? That way there's more than one perspective. Or I guess it's at 500.
Although you wanted to add another level, right? You think,
There is another level above. We
Yeah.
just
right, just don't have it on the table. Okay.
So 201 to 500 is below that. I would be okay with at 500
Yeah.
to put 2 commissioners.
Above 500 or below?
Yeah. Well, because that says up to 500. I would say that is an excellent question.
So the current guidelines ask for 2 commissioners minimum, above 500. You initially mentioned reducing to 1, so now the conversation is coming back to keeping the 2 commissioners for those levels.
Yes, because I think a good point has been brought up that it'd be good to have different perspectives, and I was not thinking of it that at the time. That I suggested one. But I would still say my suggestion would be only 2 at over $500, not below 500.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to hear otherwise.
I'm a
So
little bit
BGS.
concerned
Um,
that, go ahead.
sorry, Fabio, it was at least 1 commissioner actively involved, and then it would be at least 2 commissioners in attendance. So that one is correct, the up to 500, and then it's the 50, nope.
Sorry.
The next one,
Yes.
the 501 to
The
1000.
501 to 1,000, it would be at least 1 commissioner actively involved, and then at least 2 commissioners in attendance.
That's
Does-
right. I was getting those 2 confused. I forgot they were 2 different requests.
Just a clarifying question. I know for the NAACP event, we had 2, I think it was Martha and Commissioner Poindexter, sorry, Cynthia. Was there another person?
Yeah,
someone
Ben,
else.
Commissioner Ben.
Oh, okay, that's right. Okay, so I just wanted to know if the one who was active involvement also counts for the one in attendance.
It should.
Okay.
I was going to say that I'm just a little bit concerned that with our busy lives, if we can't come up with 2 commissioners to go to an event, the group loses our support. And I'm just a little concerned about
Mm.
so much riding on our availability.
Do you have an alternative that you think might work for that? It could be like at least 1 commissioner actively involved with at least 2 total in attendance. Yeah, there you go. And 1 more commissioner in attendance.
That's
That gets 2 perspectives.
right, and
Yeah.
it's a little bit more realistic.
Yes, yeah. I think that wording is much better as well.
Then for number 5, we strike through.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question or
Yeah.
share a curiosity? On the report back, the one piece of information that I think could be helpful both for the commission and the organization is knowing how many people were in attendance at these events, because I think that's a really good data point for your report out to council too. So I don't know how hard it would be to follow up with them, or if we ask them to proactively let us know, but either way, I'd be curious.
Could we ask them in the application process how many are expected? More often than not, these are repeat events, and so they could use historical data from it. But I do think that's a good point, and we can see how, like, if there's a bigger impact we can make for certain sized groups.
Yeah. Then the final item for discussion is number 6. If you want to add a process for emergency requests. And perhaps would be important to clarify what commissioners mean by emergency request. Our practice has been not to ask commissioners to approve something that has not been posted along with the agenda. So we have been sharing the meeting materials the Thursday or Friday before your meeting. So what was your thinking regarding emergency requests?
I'm torn here because I think the whole point of putting this in place was to keep emergency requests from happening. And smaller not-for-profits might not be, have their plan in place early enough. And those are probably the ones we really want to help. So, I'm not really sure what the answer is to this. I do think if we agree to emergency requests, we still have to have some type of, what does that mean?
Mhm.
Yeah, what qualifies?
As an emergency.
Yeah,
Yeah, because right now, if people submit a week before the event, and that is before your meeting, we
agenda.
can still include. We just need to receive the information before we finalize the agenda and submit it to the commission. So right now, emergency request will be something that happens between Friday at noon, the Friday before the meeting, and the moment of the meeting. There's like a 3-4 day period.
Commissioner Bradley, if you want to speak before I jump in.
Oh, sure. Thank you, Chair. My thought was that in this realm, I don't think that there are emergencies. If that makes sense. An emergency to me is something very different in my line of work, and I think for most people. And so it may be that we should consider requests that come in and there isn't a lot of time. I'm not confident that the word emergency makes sense in the context.
and I'm looking at the rest of this. We only ask it to be delivered 10 days before the meeting, like. Yeah, that's pretty close to the meeting date. So again, I'm kind of torn as to whether we offer that or not, since we say they can submit it up to 10 days before the meeting.
Yeah.
I
To
don't
keep
feel
with the
like
spirit-
it's necessary, because we do give them so much time, and like Fabio said, it's as long as it's in the agenda, and that's typically within 4 to 5 days of our meeting. So being able or having that request for them to get it in at least 10 days prior to the meeting, I think that's plenty of time, and it's not like an emergency event is going to pop up tomorrow. Even
And-
the pandemic, we kind of saw that coming. So
We could even say 5 days, because if it's at least 5 days when you put the agenda together, I mean, we could even lower it to 5 days if we wanted to.
I wouldn't put days on it. I would say maybe would it be more helpful, Fabio, to say like the Wednesday before the meeting, so that if the meetings are on Tuesdays, then that gives you time, or if the meetings do move to Wednesdays, it would be the week before. So maybe have it be a day of the week that gives
Yeah.
you enough time.
That would work for us. So then we'll strike through this one.
Yes.
The final one is this item regarding limiting how many applications one organization can submit in a fiscal year. Right now, we don't have that limitation, and we have a few organizations that have been getting 2 sponsorships per fiscal year.
I would be in support of limiting this. And if we do that, actively reaching out to those who do get to right now and let them know the change.
Agreed. Any other comments or thoughts on limiting to one? Oh, request. Sorry, just a second. I think my little one made the power go out, so just overloaded the circuit. It's fine, we're good. But I do agree with limiting it to one request per organization per year. Does anyone else have comments? Okay, I think we're all agreed on it, or at least there's no disagreement on it.
Okay, then I believe we have captured all the amendments you want to make, all the changes you want to make to the guidelines.
Perfect.
So these are guidelines that we as a staff would use on the application page. We still have the pending process of updating the bylaws, and our recommendation is to remove this language from the bylaws because the bylaws are supposed to be about the operation of the commission, and this is grant funding, which is decided through the budget process and operated by staff.
Before or since this document or the application process would still be in the process of being finalized, do you need a vote on this right now, or is the discussion sufficient?
We will need a vote because this is the recommendation of the commission to us. So we'll need the commission to vote and document that.
All right, I will ask for a motion on the guidelines for community support.
I move to approve those guidelines as revised this evening.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? All right, seems we have it approved. All right, and next we have a statement on the LPR cameras, which I forgot we were going to ask Lieutenant Williams to make any comments on, but that was also shared as part of the agenda for today. I believe that they are now listed of like where the locations are, or they are turned off. Is that correct?
They're both are correct, Chair. If it's would you like me to give you some background?
Yes, please, by all means.
So yes, after consultation with City Council, a city manager made the decision to temporarily turn off the ALPR cameras in town, and then subsequently the chief made all of the chief of police Skinner made all of the ALPR cameras, their locations known via the police. Well, it was a public relations notice and I believe a posting on social media. And so what we have from the homelessness and poverty work group, we were asked to put together some language related to ALPR technology. And so this is our draft. Fabio, the word commission is a Scrivener's error. You can feel free to replace that with council. That was unintentional. And so this is what we have. If you'd like, I could read it, or if you want someone else to read it, Chair, whatever your preference is.
Please feel free to read that.
Okay, so this is the Homelessness and Poverty Work Group Statement on Automated License Plate Reader Technology, sent up to HRC for consideration. The Eugene, Oregon Human Rights Commission recognizes the need for robust public safety efforts and the role that technology has in supporting investigations. Automated license plate reader, or ALPR technology, may assist in those in harm's way, aid in the recovery of stolen vehicles, and help resolve other crimes. However, ALPR technology also raises concerns about privacy, equity, and the disproportionate impact on already vulnerable communities. Individuals who are working on immigration status, people experiencing homelessness, and those living in poverty could experience negative impacts from the use of this technology, even if robust safeguards and information security policies are in place. On balance, the risks to vulnerable populations and to privacy outweigh the potential advantages. We urge the City Council to ask that the City Manager and Police Department refrain from use of the technology and to remove the existing ALPR cameras.
Thank you, Commissioner Bradley. Any comments or thoughts on the statement?
I would like to add before the word privacy, the right to. The right to privacy, because privacy is in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Does that make sense?
think in the last sentence, maybe, and that the existing ALPR cameras are removed. Just grammatically. It's a little weird.
Yes.
We had talked about that language. There was a little bit of concern about that because there is a contract in place. I'm not sure what the restrictions are on that contract. And so that was, I don't know, that was a concern that we had talked about before. We do understand that or have been told that it's not a violation of the contract to discontinue their use. We're less confident about full removal of the cameras in the contract period.
Well, probably shouldn't have done it in the first place.
In that last sentence also, can we say we urge City Council, so remove the word the before City Council, and then remove both that's. Sorry, my communications brain. That is a extra word more often than not. As well as the one after and.
You might need a to before refrain.
That's.
For consistency also, to refrain from using this technology. Okay. Any other comments, edits, or a motion?
I move we accept it as rewritten.
I'll do a second and then I have a question.
Do you want to ask your question first?
Yeah, I'm just going back to what John or Commissioner Bradley was saying about um that they probably can't be removed, but they could at least stop being used. And if we wanted to put that wording, I can't remember what the original wording was, but just putting that out there if we should go back to that after what Commissioner Bradley said
I don't know how much
matters.
it matters because it's a recommendation from a recommending body to another recommending body.
Perfect.
That, hires and a city manager. So it's none of this it's binding. It's a recommendation. And so I do think that there's some value in removal of the cameras if they can be removed because of issues related to psychological safety for many members of the community because but it whether or not they actually are removed, my understanding is that may be the city manager's discretion and may have to do with the contractual obligations that have already been created.
Okay, thank you. I pulled my question then.
There's something a little off about the grammar of the last sentence. We might need to say and remove the cameras. Because we urge city council to ask. And parallel would be,
Yeah, now that we've taken that out, it doesn't read as well.
Yeah,
okay,
that's good.
Yeah, right, that's great.
Remotion.
I make a motion to approve as amended.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? The ayes have it, and we will move on to another fun discussion item. I don't know, Fabio, if we have any documents for this discussion, but I'm sure many of you have seen or heard of the increase activity of ICE in our community, and it has been a growing concern for many groups. I've been hearing it from my colleagues, and I guess, is there something that we would like to propose to council or the city, a statement of some sort?
Chair, we do have a guest with us today. I'll let Melissa introduce her. And in the planning conversation was a potential collaboration regarding International Human Rights Day, which is on December 10th. And the commission usually organizes an event to replace the December meeting. So we don't have a regular meeting in December. We usually have an event, an educational event or a community engagement event that commemorates Human Rights Day.
Perfect.
And we have Feather Crawford online. She's one of the leadership team members of United for Immigrant Justice. That is a group that I actually attend every month. And Feather is here to give us some updates. And how much time does she have? Just out of curiosity.
Considering we can always vote to extend the meeting, but also this is a very, or can be a very long-winded topic.
I'll keep my remarks
Yeah.
pretty brief.
Cool. Welcome, Feather.
First of all, thank you for Melissa for inviting me. Thank you to the City of Eugene Human Rights Commission for hosting this conversation. I'm here on behalf, as Melissa said, of the leadership team for United for Immigrant Justice, or UIJ. And that includes Guadalupe Quinn as our wonderful leader of this group. And we also have leadership members in Easter Seals, Trauma Healing Progress, or Trauma Healing Project, and standing up or showing up for racial justice. So a little bit about UIJ. Our mission is to foster an inclusive and welcoming community network that celebrates the contributions of immigrants to Lane County's social, economic, and cultural vibrancy. We are committed to supporting immigrant justice, strengthening families, promoting respect and non-discrimination, and ensuring public safety through trust, collaboration, and accountability. We advocate for humane and just immigration policies that uphold the dignity and rights of all individuals, and we work to build a stronger community where everyone can thrive. UIJ meets every month, and we have a pretty robust listserv where we're able to share information among people who belong to the listserv from all facets of Lane County. So we have obviously the City of Eugene represented, but also Lane County, the state of Oregon, many school districts, and many human rights, human dignity organizations, nonprofit organizations in Lane County. And we really are a network where we bring people together, obviously connecting them through shared information, but also we connect people through shared conversations. And over the last several months, we have invited and hosted a lot of significant people in our community and been able to engage them in conversation. So we've had our past speakers. We had Joanna Costa, who did a wonderful presentation on the Oregon sanctuary law and what it does and doesn't guarantee and cover. We've had the Eugene City Manager, who is soon to be retiring, Sarah Mendery. We had Chief Skinner come and speak with us. We had Sheriff Harold right before he retired come and speak to us. And tomorrow we're having Chief Resch of the city of Springfield come and speak with us. So I think that has been a really, I mean, Guadalupe is just has such a wonderful leadership style. So she really does want to create connections so that the community that she represents, especially, can speak and work with these people in these positions of power, especially when things are so dangerous for vulnerable members of our community. And so generally we ask about how they see the sanctuary law, how they will uphold the sanctuary law, if they have measures, for training on the sanctuary law and how it is, what is the assessment of people in their employment or under their supervision, keeping the law intact. The last several months, we've spent a lot of time talking about the cameras, the flock cameras, because they are such an incredible risk to our vulnerable community members and our immigrant community members. And it really did sort of inspire a lack of trust in the people that the sanctuary law are supposed to keep members of the community feeling that they can go to and trust. Because if people aren't able to call upon or trust the people in position of power in our community, it just increases their vulnerability. We host or we have conversations and host people, include people in the network that are very active in the Rapid Response Lane County, in getting Avello out of Eugene. And very recently, the Melting Ice Project, led by Bob Bussell, but also joined by many members of UIJ. And yes, I don't really have newsy updates. Like I'm not really a person, like I'm not the I don't have information about ice or anything like that, or things like that that have happened. But just to share that this network that is active in the communities, trying to create the kinds of connections with people in power that can keep our vulnerable community members safer. And that is a tall order right now. I know that we all feel that very, very clearly.
Thanks, Heather.
Hmm. And then I guess one more thing that I could add is that we have a couple of other things that we do to try and contribute to a better, safer community. We have written letters to mayors and city commissioners and police chiefs about the flock cameras. We had a meeting with Chief Skinner, the lead team did, to discuss the flock cameras a couple of months ago. And we also met with Representative Val Hoyle not long after her Lake and Riley vote in the House. So we have conversations, but we also try and use whatever, social capital, especially that Bob Bussell and Guadalupe Quinn have, to do what we can to build a stronger, safer, more respectful and inclusive community.
Thank you for that. I think part of the discussion was potentially joining forces for an event for International Human Rights Day. Is that correct? Okay. Do you have an event already planned around that time? No. Okay.
No.
Sorry. Fabio, what was the direction we were thinking of connecting with them?
In previous years, the commission has organized panel conversations. So the last 2 years, that was the format that the commission chose, was organize a panel conversation, invite some guests, and have it as a hybrid format. Previously, we have a selected film that was made available for people to watch on their own. And then there was a time when the film would be presented and there would be a conversation, sometimes with the director of that documentary or people who were featured in the documentary, for example. And before my time with the commission, several different events have been organized. These two formats have been the most recent ones.
Thank you. I'm remembering more of the conversation now. Does anyone have a preference or thoughts on having like a video sent out and or a panel discussion? One of the other aspects that we talked about, because there has been increased bias and negativity towards LGBT communities, is finding a representative from one of those groups as well to also speak on the panel, and how much of this has affected human rights. Obviously, there could be so many groups as part of this discussion, but making sure we're hitting some not higher, um, of the pertinent groups that are being affected at the moment.
So I do feel that I am only here speaking in place of Guadalupe. So I definitely defer to her judgment. I know that we have a UIJ meeting tomorrow, and then we have a UIJ leadership meeting the following Monday. And this would definitely be something that I would follow her lead on. But it's a wonderful, lovely idea.
Thank you.
Guadalupe was one of our panelists
Yes.
last year for it.
So actually, that's what I was gonna share. The last community panel we held, which I don't think was on International Human Rights Day, I forget what it was for, but Guadalupe was a panelist, as well as Anna Lardner, who spoke about Transgender Alliance of Lane County. So yeah,
I have a comment, Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I think that this would be a great year for us to focus on sanctuary laws. And I like what Feather said about having people explain what is and is not covered by our current laws. And of course, that would include gaps in protection. But I would love for us to be in partnership with this group and to make that our focus this year. Does anyone else have feelings about this direction?
I think that's a great idea. I know I would love to learn more about it, and I'm assuming myself, like I think I know what it is, but I think there's a lot of stuff. I know there's a lot of stuff I don't know about it, so I think that would be a great topic.
I wonder if we could even bring in, I don't know if there's like an immigration lawyer who has a little bit more knowledge as well that could answer questions. Go for it, Feather.
I can't volunteer her, but I would recommend Katrina Kilgren.
I would also recommend her.
Perfect. Look, sounds like we have a couple good connections. One thing to note that came up in the planning meeting is I believe December 10th is, yep, it's a Wednesday. Traditionally, these events the events for International Human Rights Day have been held on the weekend, I believe, so that more people could attend. Is that something that is preferred, or would we want to try to do a Wednesday evening?
Chair, the last 2 years, the events were held on a Saturday or Sunday. It was on the weekend. Actually, total attendance was lower than previously when the commission held the events on a weekday evening.
That's great to know. From my perspective, then I would suggest that we do it on a weekday. Is anyone opposed to that? My only ask, because since we could potentially do it on Wednesday the 10th, is that I already have another commitment. So if we wanted to do it on the 10th, I'm sure as long as he's feeling better, Dr. Booker would be more than happy to also participate with it. But if we have other commissioners who are willing to participate and help with that event.
I can be there.
We would need to create an ad hoc committee to work with staff on organizing the event. So we would be supporting you with logistics and so on. And we usually defer to the commission on the content and whom to invite.
Perfect. Who would like to be on the ad hoc committee?
I cannot be on the ad hoc committee. I do not have the capacity, and I will be there and I will help and I will be a moderator if you need me to be. I just cannot be on the planning committee.
And I could, but I'm a baby and I don't know.
Whatever, you're not seeing me then on
Right.
Thursday, so you should definitely do it if you have the capacity. You'll
Yeah,
be
I was
just
like, that
fine.
event will wrap up, I'll just join another one.
If you have time, I think you should.
Yeah, yeah, I do have time, I just don't. So.
Do you
Well,
think
they
so?
have-
You reconfirms.
Thanks, Siri. Yeah, so yes, but then what does that look like? Is this like as long as UIJ can also has capacity for that and
I
like
could
what is that?
be the staff bridge to collaborate with UIJ, so Feather and Guadalupe and have one, a UIJ member involved in the planning committee meeting, so just making sure. I'm assuming you want me to be the staff person for this, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I just assumed. So, yeah, I can help connecting the dots, but are there any other commissioners?
I know Commissioner Booker was interested, but I would double check with him. Is there maybe one more commissioner that might be interested in helping?
I
Or
wonder if,
at least planning?
yeah, they never.
Mm.
Okay, I will do that. We were.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Perfect. Okay. I can also be tapped for any potential connections or just ideas if you would like. But also at peak capacity. And yeah, so if it is planned for December 10th, I think that's fantastic. I just personally won't be able to attend. I apologize. But do we need a vote on moving forward with this committee, like ad hoc committee?
We can document it with a vote.
Okay, I would need a motion, please, to move forward with planning this.
I make a motion for the ad hoc committee to be formed.
Well, second
Is that what it needs to be?
Yes, it's an ad hoc committee for planning of the International Human Rights Day event.
Yes, all of that, Melissa.
Got it. And we are focusing on Wednesday, December 10th.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we
So-
want to stick with Wednesday, December 10th, or push it a little bit since, holidays and it's about 2.5 weeks? 1, 2, yep,
I
that'd be
can-
about 3 weeks.
I can convene the group and we can figure out the best time and report back if that's okay.
Yes. And that would just be via email then?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. All in favor?
I,
Any opposed? Any abstain? And we are good to move forward with this.
And Feather, thanks so much for joining us. I'll be in touch.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. Have a good evening.
All right. I think we can move on to homeless and poverty work group updates.
Thank you, Chair. We already talked about and passed the wording on the ALPR cameras. I think we can pivot now to focus on our December event, which is the Homeless Persons Memorial Day, which will take place on December 21st at the Farmers Market Pavilion and we have the space from 3:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. It would be helpful to have some additional help just for setup and takedown after before and after the event. We have a little bit more planning to do and coordination with city staff to ensure that we have the right folks invited. and very much appreciate the additional the support from HRC for the event. And Junie, anything else you think we need to share? Or Commissioner Christopherson? And she may not be able to hear us. Anyway, I think that's it. Thank you.
Perfect. And just to clarify, December 21st is a Sunday.
Mhm.
Once you have a better timeline on what you need for setup and takedown and any other help during the event, can you please share that with staff and then they can send it out to the rest of us?
Sure. But it's we know it's 3:30 to 7:30. And so that's the time that we have the pavilion kind of scheduled for.
Great.
But we'll
Thank
send
you.
out a reminder for additional help.
Perfect. We see you updates.
We talked about most of them already. The Trans Day of Remembrance. There's been a ton of work done on that with city staff and WeCU staff, or WeCU members. So that's coming up on Thursday night. And then the guidelines were the other things we were talking about, so we already talked about that. And I think that's it.
Well, I can add our meeting with David Carlson
Oh,
of
yes.
Open,
Yeah.
right? Open had given information to the entire commission a few months ago, I guess. Open is the organization for polyamory and ethical non-monogamy. Open has a goal of amending current city and state ordinances and laws to make them more inclusive of the wide varieties of families and partners. And the family configurations they're really interested in are those who are not recognized in the legal term, quote, marital status. And so problems come up with parenting, going to school meetings and hospital visitations and non-nuclear families, that's a terrible term, but families who don't fit the frameworks, according to Open, often get discriminated against. So they have come to us to get input on amending city ordinances in Eugene, and some legal research has to be done about that. So we have a timeline of trying to come back to the commission in February or March, possibly. Is that right, Melissa?
Yeah, I think we said February.
February. So we are thinking of having a subgroup in WeCU to work with Open and to try to draft some things. They've done a lot of drafting themselves. They've done a lot of really good work, but that's going to be one of our tasks for the next couple of months. And do we want to say anything else? Anybody from WeCU about our incredibly large work plan?
We're going to try and prioritize it,
Thank you.
is what we're gonna try and do.
Okay.
Thank you. I think there's just a lot of really great ideas, and it was a little difficult for all of us to say which ones we wanted to prioritize. So I am very grateful that we've had really good movement on some of the items that we've talked about. And I would also be open to taking a look at the draft, not necessarily helping draft, but taking a look at the draft once we have more information on that. I would be very interested in that. Perfect. Any questions or comments for either of the work groups?
Chair, I do have a question, just for clarification. Commissioner Poindexter, when you mentioned some legal research needs to be done, who is conducting that research?
Thank you. Open has a document that has been written by an attorney that they have said that they would share with us. So we're going to start with their research. But I think eventually Melissa, if I have the timeline correct, that we will in the spring need to check with the city attorney too.
So my understanding is if the Human Rights Commission recommends this ordinance to go to city council,
Yes,
that is when the city attorney would vet or
Okay.
research.
Yeah,
I
actually,
understand.
so if the commission makes the recommendation for council to direct the city manager to work on an ordinance, that's
Uh-huh.
the point. And the council actually directs the city manager to do that.
Uh-huh.
That's the point at which the city attorney would engage.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
And I'm happy to bring any points to the city manager or mayor when the chair and vice chair have meetings with them. So Commissioner Poindexter, if there's any clarifications or points you want to address ahead of time, please let me know.
Thank you.
Okay. OECE.
We do have a few updates. Glad we have enough time in the meeting. We may not need to extend it today. I just want to share something that we just received. That's kind of positive news. That is work done by the Human Rights Campaign. Every year, they rank cities and states regarding their policies towards employees who identify in the LGBTQ plus community. And for the last 5 years now, the city of Eugene has received the highest score. So we just received the most updated version. It does reflect some change that happened last year. They added new requirements, and we were able to comply with those new requirements and still keep our score at the maximum level of 100. So it was just released yesterday or this morning. Let me see if I can make it a little bit bigger so people can see. So they check on the policies that we have in place, state and municipal policies, and then we get some points for those. They check on the municipality as an employer and the things we have in place. For example, this transgender inclusive healthcare benefits is something that is a more recent requirement, and we have those in place. Municipal services and Human Rights Commission we get 5 points for having a Human Rights Commission that discuss this topic. So thanks for volunteering. Without your work, would not be at the 100 points level, which is the maximum. Plus a few other things that we can get extra points for. On the other side here, we have law enforcement. So we get 10 points for EPG having a liaison that can work on issues impacting the LGBTQ plus community. Leadership on LGBTQ plus equality. So that comes with statements and efforts that our leadership takes on that area. And we also get points there. So we get 8 out of 8. So our final score is 100 and it cannot exceed 100. So thank you for your work. You have contributed to this, and we have retained this maximum score for the past 5 years.
Congrats.
That's amazing. Is that a report that you can share with us as well? Like via
Yes,
email?
we can share. We actually link to this on our job applications, for example, because this is measuring the city as an employer. Of course, a lot of the things we have in place benefits community members as well. So the work of the commission provides guidance to council and staff, but it also reflects on how we interact with community members as an organization. So that is very beneficial. It is posted on the Human Rights Campaign website, and we link on our page, the OEC page in the city website. And for people who are applying to work for the city, we have a disclaimer on that as well, that we do offer those benefits and support services. One additional update we have is that we are getting close to finishing our work on the community engagement guidelines. So that's the considerable project that we have been working since last year through the listening sessions. Some of the commissioners attended the community engagement preference survey, meetings with city staff across the organization, and we are on the final weeks of getting the documents ready and an internal web page ready And we will also include a statement on our approach to community engagement. And that's how we have been incorporating equity into everything that we do. So equity shows itself through the way we serve the community, and community engagement is how people experience that. So our hope is that the equity consideration that we have been promoting with staff for the past 5 years will be reflected on everything that we do as an organization, to a point that perhaps in the future we no longer need an equity office. So that's it's like it will be the final goal, is that we do not need to talk about this anymore, because everything that we do and everyone in the organization is already trained on how to consider equity in our work. So we are trying to complete the steps we have proposed for that work since our office became equity and community engagement a few years ago. Any questions? And for those who live in the Bethel area, you may have received some communication from us. So we have been working with residents in the Bethel, Transong, and a few adjacent areas on a vision and priorities document for that side of our city. And we are right now collecting feedback on the draft vision and priorities document. So we mail that document to every resident in the areas that are covered. And if you are curious and you do not live there, you can actually go to our Engage Eugene website and see the Bethel neighborhood plan process that our team has been working on. And a similar process is underway for the university area.
Do you want me to provide a recruitment update?
Yeah.
Okay, sure. So the city council continues to recruit for a new city manager. They are working with a recruiter, Bob Murray and Associates. Next Monday night, that firm will have a conversation with council to present the candidates and everyone who applied. That's an executive session. And council will narrow the pool to 8 or under folks who will be interviewed virtually by the council on December 5th, also an executive session. A couple of weeks after that, the final candidates will probably be made public. So there'll be a media release so everyone can learn the names and experience of the candidates who will join us in Eugene the week of January 12th. That week is the in-person interview process, and there will be engagement with community stakeholders. So more to come on that. Council hasn't outlined that process yet exactly, but we're about a month and a half out. So we'll keep you posted via email, because I don't think you're meeting again before then, right? No.
Correct.
Thank you.
And we'd have an opportunity for input or for one of us to sit on during the hiring process, correct?
The council is yet to determine who will be included on, or if they'll have panels. They might do something less traditional. There will likely be a component where most of the community can engage in one way or another. So we'll keep you posted.
Okay, is that not part of what our role is in the Human Rights Commission? I know that previously there were notes that we could sit on hiring processes for any city staff.
Yeah, but it's at the discretion of the council. So that's true for all of the boards, commissions, and committees. And so as we get closer, council will determine who from any of the groups might engage and in what way. It is not uncommon for someone from the HRC to be asked to engage in some way, but given that this is a council process and they only have 3 employees, we don't have the same influence that we might for, say, police chief or public works director or something like that. So I can't presuppose what the council will do, basically what I'm saying.
Okay. But you'll be able to update us on the processes, so if we would like to request input, we can.
For sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Chair, just a reminder for those who perhaps did not follow. We had a session just, I believe, a week or 2 ago that was open to members of boards and commissions. So there was a session for the recruiters to get information that they could consider in this initial phase of the vetting process. And then, as Mia mentioned, we may at additional steps that board members may be invited to participate, but council has not decided on that.
Thank you. Any questions around OECE updates?
Do you have more, Melissa? No. That's all for today.
Perfect. Do we have anyone in line for public comment?
No signups for today.
Great. If that's the case, then I believe I can give you 7 minutes of your evening back. And we will vote to adjourn. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
You guys have done all the motions.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed to ending the meeting?
Jean.
Any abstain?
You're very well.
All right, I guess I will give you 6 minutes back. Thank you all so much for a very efficient meeting and for providing your thoughts during all of our discussions.
Thank you, Jerry.
Take care. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Melissa, we were just making minutes easy for you.
I know.